Hey everyone, to another episode of Podium Stories. Today I have a really special guest in the building, somebody who I wanted to interview for the last couple of days, and I think it's going to be a great interview today. His name is Terry Hedden. He's the co-founder and CEO of Marketopia, the premier full-service marketing and lead gen agency for the IT channel. Marketopia has grown from 0 to 100 people in 5 years and has been featured in the Inc. 5000 in 2019, I believe. They help, to give you some context, guys, its clients enter new markets, create a powerful digital presence, build robust pipelines, strengthen partnerships, and accelerate results. And Terry also takes part in speaking engagement and consulting with firms in topics ranging from cloud computing, managed IT services, and marketing best practices entrepreneurship. Terry, thank you so much for being here.
No problem at all, man. Glad to be here.
So one of the, when I was doing my research, I saw an interview that you had, and you talk about how in the early days, you guys saw that you clearly tapped into a huge need because traction was instant, and that the hard part was managing growth, really, which is something that a lot of entrepreneurs don't consider and think of the first year as let's try a way to get some new business coming in. But it seems like you guys had the opposite problem. So how did you deal with this challenge, and what was your mentality on that at that stage?
This wasn't my first rodeo. I'm 35 or 45 years old, but I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 14. So I've had 9 companies so far, and so I kind of knew what to expect. I've always been able to outsell my ability to serve. The difference with Marketopia is that I had enough money to pay for the delivery side before I sold the deal. So it's been a lot easier road. But it's still hard to grow. I mean, we're growing. Our Inc. 232 was last year, so that was 2,040% year 3-year growth. This year, even after COVID, we're still north of 30% annual growth, and expect to finish the year somewhere north of 30, somewhere between 30 and 50% growth. I found that Marketopia has chosen to specialize in a market niche. And there's a saying that a friend of mine taught me when Marketopia launched, and I described kind of the newest venture idea, was there's riches in the niches. And she was right. There are definitely riches in the niches. And instead of trying to be everything or something to everyone, you're a lot to one type of profile. And you can charge a price premium. You can get above market pricing. You can have a higher close ratio. You can basically really, really resonate with one market niche and create a differentiated product due to that. So that's what we did at Marketopia. We serve the technology industry all over the world, it's gone quite well. We're bigger now than we were before COVID. Which is kind of cool. And we expect to continue growing at a rate of about a person a week, kind of keep the machine going.
Do you have experience on the tech industry, and that's why you chose to niche down there, or was it something that you found there was a gap and that you then learned how to fill it up?
I definitely came from the tech space. I was after undergrad, I went to Ernst & Young Management Consulting, where I did high-level tech projects. Since my time in EMY, I did time at a couple of software companies, one based in Bordeaux and the south of France. Actually, headquarters in Paris, R&D was in Bordeaux, and then the other one in Silicon Valley. Before I kind of became an entrepreneur again after college. I had a tech background, but you can find you can become a niche provider without experience in the niche, but it's certainly easier to have that street cred. I didn't come into that industry. We've kind of launched into the tech space, supporting the IT reseller channel, the MSPs and VARs out there, and had a little bit of success as an MSP. I was the largest or fastest growing in the world for one year, and then ended up just becoming a pretty large MSP, and I did that without any money. So that got me on some magazine covers and so speaking engagements, and one thing led to another. Sold my MSP and launched Marketopia, and it's been a wild ride helping other technology entrepreneurs achieve their goals.
I love that. So one of the things that I want to ask you, and this is a problem that we face personally. I ran a thought leadership content creation agency, and we started serving small, medium businesses, and now we're trying to go up market and serve mid market and enterprise. And that's something that I saw that you guys had experienced firsthand. So I want to ask you, what did you find that you needed to do differently to not only market but also serve larger companies as you go up market?
So we launched, start serving primarily the SMB market. And so that took a certain caliber of performance. And I say performance, everything from marketing collateral, sales collateral,
Right.
the sales people, the service professionals. As you go upstream, the key to success is to make sure that everything scales with that goal. A lot of people try to scale their target market without keeping everything in alignment. So they end up coming to market with an SMB grade salesperson trying to sell an enterprise, or an SMB grade marketing or sales collateral trying to sell an MSP or enterprise, or try to come up with an offering that's more built for SMP and trying to put it in the enterprise. Everything's got to work in concert. And that's kind of what Marketopia did. When we we got in some early success in enterprise projects, one-off projects, and decided to make a more of a concerted effort to go after that. And we elevated all aspects of the team, from our marketing message, our marketing voice, to our sales team, to our service team, kept everything in alignment and just swam upstream. Marketopia chose to not abandon the original market. So we now serve enterprise, which is tech vendors like Oracle and Cisco and, bigger tech, firms, along with the SMB market that we started with. So we didn't swim upstream to abandon our base. We just expanded northward, expanded upward to where we could handle larger customers. And now, we work with, some of the largest companies in the world, like SAP, Oracle, Apple, companies like that. So we're very fortunate. It certainly helped in COVID and what's coming with the recession. We're able to go where the money is instead of being stuck in too small of a pocket to be successful. So we feel very confident. We see the world through rose-colored glasses right now. We believe that what's coming is we're prepared for it, and we're going to succeed regardless of kind of what's to come.
I love that, because it's excuse me. It seems like sometimes we fall in that tendency of thinking if we go upstream, all we have to do is raise prices, change who we're targeting with our content or our outreach, but it's the same process. And the way you seem to talk about it, it's a completely different process that needs different people, new systems, and kind of like a revolution within the company, right?
Yeah, I like it. Revolution is a way of thinking about it, and evolution is another way. You're just
like that.
evolving and growing and developing and maturing all aspects of your business. So as you're doing the same, I'm sure you've seen a similar kind of growth pattern. You can have desires and dreams to do something. The key is to put your money where your mouth is, and to make sure that you're ready for that as you try to target it. Because if you're ready before you try to go out to market, you probably can't pay for the transformation. And if you go before you're ready, you're probably not going to be successful doing it. So to keep everything working in concert, keep your company working harmoniously, make sure sales and service are in sync, and you can achieve anything.
Was it a conscious decision when you started the company of like eventually we're going to go upstream, or when you guys saw some success at the small medium level, and then a few success on one-off projects, enterprise, like, oh, maybe we can go enterprise as well?
I would say it was always part of the plan. We servicing the small to medium-sized business is very rewarding. I'm a Christian guy, man. I like helping people. I retired already. I retired when I was 38. So I didn't start this to become a billionaire.
Right.
It's something I'm going to have to suffer through. No, I didn't start this to become a billionaire. I started it to help people, and I had a pretty noble cause. It's very rewarding to help the little guy, but it's also very difficult to help the little guy, especially when it comes to marketing or sales. They tend to underestimate the importance of both, when in fact, without both, they're not going to be successful. So, I think swimming upstream and taking care of enterprise vendors was always part of the plan. We just had to build up to it, prove our concept with a little guy, build an offering that can scale, And then frankly, for us, it's a competitive advantage because we can go to a vendor like, say, Oracle, and say, not only can we help you directly, Oracle, we can help you recruit new partners or market your products and services, but also we know the last mile. We know the end user market. We know how to get a lead at the buyer, at the end user level, and give it to one of your resellers. And that's something that our competition simply doesn't have. So Madison Avenue agencies have great relationships with CNN and Fox News and can put, Oracle's advertisements in the Super Bowl ad, but we actually literally have a pulse of the market. So we're able to offer that as a competitive advantage that's really paid off for us.
I love how you position that to your advantage. And you lead me to something that I want to ask you as well. I see that you guys offer both the marketing side of things and the lead gen or appointment setting side of things as well. And that's something that I've seen. I do a lot of content creation, so I'm more on the marketing side. But when I go to companies, I see that there's a fight and there's a pressure between marketing and sales and those departments. So how do you see that, how do you find that balance, right? Or how do you deal between departments for budget, KPIs within companies between sales and marketing?
It's a really interesting question. And this is a major problem that we spent a lot of time working on solving. At the end of the day, nothing matters unless a deal happens, right? You can have the best commercial, you can have the best advertisement, you can have the best product packaging, you can have the best video in the world, but if it doesn't result in a lead that becomes a sale, it's a waste of money. And people these days in the marketing side are really tired of branding investments and investments that don't have a tangible result. They're looking for a direct tie between a marketing dollar and a revenue dollar. So Marketopia has really taken a three-prong approach at this. We sort of accepted that fact that says, listen, the deals that we identify have to close if we're to be successful. So we spent time, energy, and money standing up a training, a sales enablement, sales empowerment, sales training capability. And it actually launched as an e-learning tool about a month ago. It's called trainingforyoutogrow.com. Number 4, the letter U, the number 2, trainingforyoutogrow.com. And that really has been a huge bonus for us, where we offer certifications. So give people the training and knowledge to close the deals. And and honestly, in 2020, that's where a lot of our money is going, is saying, listen, we can generate leads. We can get prospects in the door with our customers, but at the end of the day, our customers need to close the deal or we're going to get fired anyway. We had a customer that said we sucked, and we had generated, I think it was 99 on-site appointments for that prospect in 1 year.
Wow.
And by every measure internally, we completely kicked butt. We exceeded our expectations. We delivered on our promises. And this guy, I'm in the airport, I think it was in Austin, Texas, I remember getting yelled at, and I was just blown away because I would have told you they were a poster child, the Marketopia tattoo on their arm. Come to find out, they closed 1 out of 99.
Jesus Christ.
So we at the end of the day, they have a choice between blaming their internal sales team and blaming marketing. They're always going to blame marketing.
It's always easy to blame outside, for sure.
Yep. And then, so that really kind of was the epiphany. It's like, listen, it doesn't really matter how good you are at generating leads if your customer can't close them. So we started to really improve our qualification methodology, leveraging more BANT qualification standards. We started to really better define what a lead even was, MQLs and SQLs specifically, and really taught the customer those things. And then really started investing a whole lot more in helping customers close deals. We realized how important that was. And so that became sort of, it now is a competitive advantage for us, but at the time it was launched, it was survival. We were getting one, losing one, getting one, losing one. And it's hard to maintain that 50 to 100% annual growth goal as you scale when you're, running on a treadmill. You're not actually, you're losing customers for each one you give. So anyway, that's an important part. So I think a lot of marketers fail to understand that even though they shouldn't technically be held responsible for the sale, it technically is the sales organization, it behooves them to track those leads, to justify their existence by knowing what the ROI is on whatever marketing campaigns people invest in. So It doesn't matter if you're in branding, if you're in video, if you're in email, it doesn't matter. Track leads to close and require your customers to do the same, because at the end of the day, the last thing you want is to consider yourself very successful and exceed your promises, yet still get fired at the end of the day.
I love that. That's so great advice. And honestly, I'll steal that from you because I think that's something that my company needs to do better as well. There was a personal question that I wanted to ask you. What has been the toughest day or the toughest moment since you started Marketopia for you personally? As you have grown the business, what has been the toughest moment that you're like, oh, that was rough. That day was tough.
It's going to kind of open up a can of worms, but I'll share it anyway. It was an accounting day. Getting customers and generating leads, we've always been good at it. Frankly, from the day we opened our door, we could sell anyone, anything, and we could deliver on the promises. We've gotten better at that, but we were always at least good at it, and probably started off better than our competition.
Right.
But I think the darkest day, I would say, was when we discovered that our accounting department was not doing their job properly. They weren't recording things, and that led to, frankly, a scary weekend where we were trying to understand the magnitude of the issues, where they weren't recording payments properly, they weren't recording invoices properly, and it ended up being a very difficult weekend. Thankfully, I had plenty of capital, but had I not, if I had been, bootstrapped to the point where it was close, it could have been a disastrous day, personally and professionally. So, I think a lot of entrepreneurs kind of fail to mind the P's and Q's, fail to understand the importance of back office. You've got to have an a bookkeeper that is competent and doing a good job, because at the end of the day, man, cash is king. And if you can't pay your bills, you can't pay your employees, you don't have anything. So it didn't really affect us. Marketopia had the cash, but it was a dark, scary day where it kind of reminded me of the importance of the accounting organization. Back office is just as important as front office. So kind of goes back to what we said before about making sure your company grows up properly. You don't want the service team to grow up faster than the sales team, but you also don't want your sales and service team to grow up faster than your back office. Everybody has to grow up together, or you can end up getting yourself into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it must have been scary because that's something that we don't really, as entrepreneurs, we don't start a business to think about the back office, right? We think about closing this big deal, serving our clients, but we don't think about the accounting side of things usually. But it's still super important. And it's interesting how you say that there's a lot of dark moments on our career as entrepreneurs. You now grow a huge team of 100 people. So how do you deal mentally with that pressure and responsibility of being a CEO and carrying the load of such a big team that depends on you?
I think a lot of us have kind of been reminded of that with the whole COVID thing, to understand, I've never had to lay off anyone for anything but performance related issues.
That's great.
Even through COVID, we let go of C players, D players, and we were trying to replace them with A players, because there's never been a better time in the history in our lives and in the future of our lives to hire than right now, right? Yeah. This is 25% unemployment, unheard of. There are more A players looking for work than ever before, probably since the Great Depression in the United States. It's the only time I could think of that would kind of, be on par with this, at least in the U.S. market. And so anyway, it's just kind of, it's important. It's important that you capitalize on this opportunity. Go build your team, and make sure that you, at the end of the day, if you do a great job as a leader, you emerge from this with nothing but A players on your team. You
Right.
shouldn't be accepting a C player when there are literally, I'm in Tampa Bay, Florida, so we have about 3 million population, 3.5 million, and let's say 2 million of them are working age. That means there's 500,000 people looking for a job
right now.
There's no excuse not to emerge from this with a bunch of A players.
And the last question I want to ask you before we wrap this up, because I want to be respectful of your time. I know you have done a lot of speaking and consulting as well. How has that, as someone that I see myself, this is a very selfish question, by the way, as someone that sees myself trying to do that in 5 years as well, because I'm interested in that scene. what advice would you give me on the beginning of your career as a speaker or as a consultant, as a sidebar of being the CEO?
Yeah. And specifically, it's around being a motivational speaker, being a public speaker.
Not necessarily motivational, but speaking on what you know and your expertise.
I mean, I'd tell you, you're doing a good job. You're getting yourself out there. You're being seen with people who are well known. I see what you're doing. You're good at what you're doing. That's going to create opportunities in of itself. You got to build a personal brand. And in my experience, there's really two ways to do that. One is to achieve something extraordinary. In other words, what I would call earning it.
Right.
And that's the path that I took, where I was, I kind of have a FUBU message, for us, by us. I'm one of you. I did what you want to do when you grow up. Listen to me. And that's one way to do it. And I think, you look at Shark Tank, the TV show Shark Tank, that's kind of what they're doing, right? Matter of fact, FUBU is literally on there, right? But the other way to do it is to build that credibility through things like what you're doing now, through associating yourself with people, through, creating links to people who have that influence. And then, frankly, something that I should have done that I never did, that I'd recommend you do, which is to write a book. It's amazing how much influence it is when you tell someone you're a published author and that you have a book. And these days, you don't even have to write anything. You can get a great book made for 40 grand, 60 grand, something like that. And as a motivational speaker, it really helps to say, yeah, I'll sign 40 copies of my book and give it away at the end of the session or whatever. And I would tell you, I average somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 per speaking hour now. Actually, probably closer to $2,000 now. And I do a lot to help people just for free, but I'm averaging about $2,000 an hour. If you write a book, you can easily get to $10,000 an hour. And that's just, plus expenses, but that it gives you that street cred. And that's something that I never did, that I should do. And frankly, my team here is pushing hard right now.
Yeah. I love that you talk about personal branding. Full disclosure, that's something, not writing books, but that's something that we do for our clients. We do thought leadership for CEOs, and I do it for myself, but it's good to hear you talk about it as well. I think it subscribes on that idea, and I appreciate that. Terry, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. Where can our listeners reach out to you or connect with you?
Yeah, connect on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook as well, but I definitely have musings on LinkedIn that people tend to appreciate. Hopefully I inspire some people. That's certainly the goal of what I do. So reach out to me on LinkedIn or go to marketopia.com and reach out that way.
We'll put both links on the description. If you're listening, thank you so much. Feel free to subscribe and share, and we'll see you next episode.
All right. Thank you, sir.